All right. So the first segment, under 17 Reggae Boys will be contesting the CONCACAF under 17 championships. And this will also serve as the under 17 World Cup qualifiers, bro. It's very important. You have to note that.
Yeah.
So let's talk about it. The under 17 Reggae Boys. What do you think about this team? Obviously, the camps would have loved to see the camp start a bit earlier. It started about a month or so away from the competition. But hey, we have to do something. How do you feel about under 17 Reggae Boys?
The time when the camp started, I believe this was 6 weeks before the competition. I believe that's sufficient time to prepare a youth squad. Considering that most of them would be engaged in other competitions. Leading up to this, I think it's the same all across the world where teams would have assembled, in the winter break and started to train with each other to go forward. Because in this competition, there are a lot of players, a lot of individuals playing in academies and pro levels all over the world that we played for their respective teams. So I'm not dissatisfied with the length of time that we had for camping. I think it's much more than we've seen in the past. So I appreciate effort, and I'm looking forward to see what we can get from these group of boys.
Yeah, and the thing with this competition, it's so hard to gauge, and make our expectations because we don't know how good the other squads are. It's always a changing team. The last competition was in 2019, so we're going to see a totally different squad, from top to bottom. So we don't know how good the teams are. We don't know how good we are, in relation to the other teams. But we're going to talk about it in terms of expectations. What do you expect to see from the Reggae Boys, results and football-wise?
Well, honestly, based on the set of players, I think this year will be closer than ever to these set of players because we're familiar with almost all of them, considering that we comprehensively covered the Manning Cup and to a way, way, way smaller extent or way less extent the Costa Cup. So we are familiar with these players, a few of them personal relationships with, and a few of them very happy to see them get the call up. So what I'm expecting from this team, maybe my expectations are tainted because of the relationship that I have with these boys, but I expect them to play good football. I think the quality is at a very high level, considering that these players, almost all of them, are standouts in the under 19 competition, though some of them being 15 and 16. So I do believe that the standard of play for these Reggae boys will be very high, and I expect them, because they've been training for so long, and I've seen clips from within the camp, it seems as though chemistry is at an all-time high, and there's an integration of MLS academy players that have been incorporated into this squad, and I think they will come together and I think they'll play good football. I really have high expectations for this team.
Yeah, I agree with you. And the thing is, quality and talent has never been Jamaica's problem. It's never been whether we have the players to play. We've been through the Junior Flemings era, we've been through the Javian Brown era, which would be the last time, and the Malik Howell and all of those guys who do well at the schoolboy level, but when they transition and come into one team together, they don't quite live up to the same, thing that we see them do, on other stages. So quality is never the problem. Can we put together the right squad? Is Merangon the right coach? Will is this program going in the right direction? To do something in this competition? Because I don't think it's that the team is not good enough. I think this team is good enough. I don't know the other teams, but in terms of 17-year-olds and what I've seen from these boys, I think we're just up there with the best of them. If not, I can't say the best, but we're up there with the best of them. We should be less than top 5. When I think about all the teams that should be contesting this competition. What do you think about that?
I tend to agree, and it's so funny that the last male team to qualify for the World Cup in any age group was the under 17s, and that year they were led by Omar Holness. They had Nico Campbell and Odin Clark in goal. They had the likes of O'Shane Jenkins, Andre Lewis, and that was a very formidable team. And that
All
was
schoolboy standouts, by the way.
yeah, that was the last time that these boys would have qualified. A certain Junior Fleming would have also been a part of that team, but they opted to save him for his year, which would have been 2 years after. But I think he'd have probably regretted that decision. I wish he had gone with those boys at 15 years old. So you think about those boys, a lot of them went on, to get scholarships and play professionally, so on and so forth. So that was a very talented team. That was a very mature team. And I think this year was the first year in Manning Cup where we're like comparing these crop of players to to those Manning Cup players, and those players, that was even before they entered their primes in the Manning Cup. That was the year before Omar Holness would have started the Manning Cup, or the year before Jenkins, or the year before Nico Tam. They'd have come back from that World Cup and then put their stamp on the Manning Cup in the next year. So I definitely think this is the first set of boys that's comparable in talent, like from goalkeeper all the way to strikers since that year. So in terms of talent, I do believe that we have the talent. In terms of cohesiveness, I like the fact that we've started to camp before the Christmas season. Merriam Gordon has worked with the national senior team, so I reckon that means he has some sort of experience and talent, and skill of coaching in order to be in that position. So I'm just curious to see how it materializes on the pitch. I would hope that they'd have gotten some practice matches. That doesn't seem to be the case. It seems that they'll just leave from camp and go straight into competition. But I'm very optimistic with what these guys can produce. Very, very, very talented couple of players.
All right, and to provide some context, people, let's talk about the format and how this competition will go on. So in the preliminary stages, we have 16 teams, right? And how they do this is not even a qualifiers or whatever. It's just the 16 best teams. So there's a ranking. I'll give you the top 16 teams in CONCACAF, and these 16 teams were sorted. Group 1 were part 1 were the top 4, part 2 were the next 4, and so on and so forth.
Yep.
One team from each part make up a group, right? So you can go on from there. So we have Mexico is ranked number 1, USA ranked number 2, Costa Rica ranked number 3, Honduras 4, Canada 5, Panama 6, Haiti 7, Jamaica 8, we're ranked 8 at the under 17 level. Cuba in 9th position, El Salvador at 10, Trinidad at 11, Guatemala at 12, Curacao at 13, Suriname at 14, Barbados at 15, and Guadeloupe at 16. So I explained the parts a while ago, so you can tell, where the teams will fall. Now, the top 3 teams from each group will then advance to the round of 16, where they will meet 4 teams that contested a qualifier before this round. So there were teams that played under 17 qualifiers, and the top 4 teams from that qualifier will automatically advance to the round of 16 with the 12 best teams from this group stage, right? So with that said, I think it's pretty straightforward. I think Jamaica should make
Have you done the brackets? Have you done the brackets for who you face?
So I haven't done the brackets, but I think closer to the competition.
I was formulating that if we come second in our zone, and I think if we come second in our zone, we'd face Nicaragua to qualify for the World Cup.
Nicaragua?
Yeah.
After the group stage, just 2 games we need to win to make it to the World Cup.
Just one.
No, man, the round of 16 we need to win that.
And then the quarter top 4. Yeah, so 2 games. Jaja, you popped my bubble a while ago.
Yeah.
I was saying just one would have been Nicaragua. But yeah, yes, 2 games. So that quarterfinal game is going to be a big one. You'll be playing somebody good. But yeah, the format is pretty simple and pretty straightforward. We should come out of our zone at least first or second. Should be no less than second. And if we come out of our zone in second place, I think we'll face Nicaragua, and that should give us a berth to the quarterfinals. Where we will face a very good team for a spot in the FIFA Under-17 World Cup. Exciting times ahead.
And speaking of groups, let's talk about Jamaica's group. We have Costa Rica, that's ranked 3rd at this level. People, these rankings, you can't read too much into them. These rankings were done in 2019 after that competition, and this is a totally different team. All these teams are different teams, but I guess the programs are the same. We have Costa Rica that's ranked 3rd, we have Cuba that's ranked 9th, so just below Jamaica ranked at 8th, and then we have Guadeloupe that's the worst ranked team in this part of the competition. So how do you feel about our group? And I think if we go out and play some football, we can tap this group, honestly.
I genuinely believe that besides the US, who has an outstanding academy system, and obviously Mexico, who football runs in their blood, and Canada, who is up and coming, Canada's youth development system is basically tied to USA's. It's still the MLS development program. So Canada, by default, has just as good a developmental system as the United States of America has. So I think besides those 3 teams, the talent in Jamaica at the youth level, considering that we benefit so much from that Canadian and US developmental program, considering that we have so many MLS next star players. So I think besides those three teams, Jamaica should have the best set of players both on the field. I think we should have the fourth best team in terms of quality based on my knowledge. Obviously, I might be wrong, but I think based on my knowledge, considering the fact that USA and Canada have the best developmental youth programs in the Western Hemisphere, not Western Hemisphere, in CONCACAF, because we know that Brazil produces some great players. So in CONCACAF, we know that Canada and USA takes the cake in terms of developing players. And then we know that Mexico, football just runs in their blood. So I think besides those countries, I think the best set of players from CONCACAF comes straight out of Jamaica. In addition to the fact that we have so many MLS next star players on our team. So I do think that our composition of players should be outstanding. It's just whether or not they're coached well enough to go out and go on the field and play well. And for that, I cannot attest just yet.
Yeah, I can't quite say what we will do, but I feel like I want to make a prediction. It's a little bit early to make it, but I think we have a really good shot of making it to the World Cup, man. In terms of the caliber of players that we have, and embracing those dual nationals, embracing players, as I said, from the MLS, and picking. I feel like the players that we picked from the Manning Cup and the Da Costa Cup this year, I don't feel like anyone was left off.
Yeah.
And I want to see the final squad because a 37 was selected and posted on Instagram. I want to see the final 20-man squad. Then I know people will have issues with the players selected. But in terms of the players that were called up to the camps, I have no problems with the players that were called up. And one player that I wanted to see, say what?
In camp to select. Oh.
Yeah, so that's 37 players that they posted recently, but then 20 players will be selected after that. I was saying that I wanted to see Kyle Miles in a squad like this, man, and I know that if he was not injured, I feel like he would have been around the squad. But I feel like we have a solid.
Kyle Miles wasn't called up preceding injury.
Oh yeah, he wasn't. That was before he got injured, right?
He wasn't called up to any of the preliminary squads. But Kyle Miles is 15 years old.
Yeah.
Kyle Miles will be eligible to play in the next Under-17 World Cup. So that might be taken into consideration. And then again, is Kyle Miles one of the best players Under-17 in the whole nation?
Probably not. But in terms of the training camp where we saw over 50 players being called, I feel like he could have made it into that camp. As I was saying, I was asserting myself that I feel like we have a solid shot of making it to this World Cup. I won't say we're going to win this competition because Mexico and USA, even Canada, nothing to scoff at. They're building a solid program. But in terms of making it to the World Cup and being one of the four best teams in this competition, I feel like Jamaica has a solid shot.
For sure, without a doubt. It will come down to playing one of Costa Rica, Honduras, one of those teams in that quarterfinal round. Maybe even a USA or a Mexico or a Canada to go to the World Cup. So it should be interesting. I cannot wait.
All right. Let's take a quick look at the squads. At the squad that was, the final training camp squad that was called. And some of the players that we recognize from the squad, obviously some of them we don't know because they are, in America and playing. But let's talk about some of the players that we do know. All right, so let's go through the squad real quick. So, Meran Gardner is obviously the coach. Assistant coaches Vassal Reynolds and Andrew Peart, some good coaches. Goalkeeper coach is Andrew Sewell. So, I see Tawane Lynch from Mount Pleasant, Roger Taylor from Kingston College, Joshua Grant from Inter.
Make some tackle and make some. We just walk over that. Roger Taylor, a very, very mature player. He will feature. He will make this final squad.
Yeah. I don't mind Roger Taylor as a player. I feel like he's a safe player, a player that 1-2 touches, not more than that. He doesn't give you more than that. As him say, he just make some tackle and make some pass. That's literally what the kid does.
Roger Taylor is 16 years old and he's about 6'1", probably 170 pounds, and he works non-stop, and he's no he's no slouch technically in that regard. He has good touch and he can the style of play. So definitely a good player for the future, without a doubt.
Yeah, then we have Joshua Grant from Inter Miami. That's one of the players from overseas. We have Garfield Tomlinson from Garvey Maceo.
And not just one of the players. Joshua Grant is going to be a professional footballer. Joshua Grant, I think, will start in goal for this team. He's such a good goalkeeper. You know, he's come onto my radar recently, and he's gelled with the boys so much. You know, I'd love to find out about his heritage because he seems fully inculcated in the Jamaican culture. Being a dual national, him can keep, and him big and in town. He's only 15 years old.
He's been called up to America, to the US squad, right?
Yeah.
So I'd love to know. I'd love to get some insight into that. And if he just chose to represent Jamaica for the love of the country, who knows? Jamaica is a big name out there, and maybe this kid just wants to represent the country of which of his parents are grandparents. Yeah. So this is one to look forward to. I'm glad that he stopped at Joshua Grant because a lot of people will see him and say, "Who is this kid?" Remember the name, Joshua Grant. Then we have Garfield Tomlinson from Garvey Maceo, where that stood out in the local competitions. Javin Williams from the Manning School, another one. Samir Blows from Prime FC. Then we have Carlton Brown from Mona High School, another player that we're familiar with. Obviously, people, the players that we're familiar with, we will speak a bit more about. Yeah. How do you feel about Carlton Brown getting the call up, man?
Yeah, well, enough people might know, enough people might not know. Portion, one of my, a player in the Manning Cup that has a soft spot. Obviously plagued with disciplinary issues that seems to follow him like a shadow follows a player in the 12 o'clock sun. But when he plays football or when his head is in the game, he plays. And one thing about that kid, he has an undying motor. Yeah, I think his motor is not one of petrol or coal, it's one of uranium because it never runs out. Yeah, he's powered by nuclear energy because he just keeps going until the final whistle. He never stops. In addition to the fact that he's okay technical, like he can make passes, he's a very good defender. He has a good eye for the ball and he has a lot of height. I hope that he makes the final cut, but definitely a player that we love at this side at Sports TV.
Yeah, I'm happy for that selection. Then we have Amir Dixon. Now, I hear Dixon from Mount Pleasant and Alexavier Gooden from Stats. I feel like one of the candidates to captain this team. I feel like we'll definitely see him in the final squad, right?
This are that Sports TV rising star, one of the players just eligible to play under 16 this year and did not get a chance to because he was too busy standing out in the Manning Cup being one of the absolute best defenders in all of schoolboy football. No surprises here that he's here and he will continue to do well. And as you said, he will be one of the leaders of this team.
Yeah. Brandon Ben from Inter Miami, another one of those players. Tyree McKinley, Garvey Maceo. Nashawn Barrett from Clarendon College. Ronaldo Barrett from Idel. Adrian Reed from St. George's College. People are also familiar with that name from the coverage that we've done on the Manning Cup. Malik Robinson from Garvey Maceo.
Reed is also a candidate to captain this team.
Yeah, he's one of the youth leaders of the country. Yeah. Malik Robinson from Garvey Maceo. Everald Swaby from Garvey Maceo. Dustin Cohen.
What does this say about Garvey Maceo and the Costa Cup in September?
Yeah, I was going to say that, this is giving some insight into what to expect from Garvey Maceo because there are a lot of Garvey Maceo players on this squad already. And I'm just on the first page. Dustin Cohen from Denby High. Jamani Bell from Wilmers, another player that I'm excited to see, in this squad.
Suffered from injury throughout the Manning Cup and as such didn't get to strut his stuff for Wilmers, but he's definitely talent untapped and a big part of the Phoenix program. So it's curious it's curious to see that this is our second Phoenix player that we've mentioned thus far getting selected into this team. Could this mean that Jamaica has crossed a certain bridge that we've been stuck on before? Is this something the JFF are making advancements to take the politics out of football and just play football? Jamani Bell, one of the players, very young, going to be 16 years old or just turned 16 years old, will be in the final cut.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing him. And Jason White from Glenmuir. On the other page, we have Nicholas Simmons of Richmond United, Orion Watson of Glenmuir, Niall Wharf, Inter Miami. That's what, the third or fourth American player I've seen. What do you know? Wilberforce from Mount Pleasant.
Bro, they aren't American because they have to have Jamaican passports to play for us.
True.
So that's the fourth Jamaican playing in America or the fourth dual national. They aren't American, they're Jamaican. You see which colors they're wearing?
And they're like, fourth dual national.
Yeah. Or you can just say overseas based player.
All right. Ready again?
Yeah.
So, Nashada Gibbs from Kingston College. Another player that I'm looking forward to seeing play in this competition.
Was a standout in the Manning Cup. He was a
Yo,
standout. He was one of those players that was an absolute standout in Manning Cup. I think Kingston College's second best goal scorer this season. Being thrusted into a big role in his Manning Cup team, a leadership role in only the 11th grade, and making Coach Watson very proud. So I think Nashard gives somebody to look out for in this team. Will provide width, speed, and some goals.
there we go. Jordan Mangatal from South Florida FA, another player. Dylan John from Jamaica College. This is the third Phoenix and another player that I'm excited to see. Again, I feel like Dylan John is a technically sound player that can make the right decisions on a football pitch when they give him that ball in the final third. How do you feel about Dylan making the squad?
Dylan John, I think the only reason he didn't play all the games for Jamaica College was because he was underscored to one Kevin Wilson, who is, an 18-year-old about to be 19-year-old that is an absolute stellar player who can make something out of nothing. And the fact that Dylan John was his underscore would have really improved Dylan John's game. And I think going into next season for Jamaica College, Dylan John will be their standout number 10 player. And I think for this under 17 team, the vast majority of creativity will come from John in this team.
There we go. Kemar Knox from Mount Pleasant. Lloyd Smith from Stats. O'Neill Headley from Glenmuir. Keanu Jackson from Hydel. Ryan Gorzong Jr. from Idea Sports SA. I don't know where that team is. But yeah, we see some more overseas based players.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, in this squad, man. I love it. And hopefully we can see some more of this transition all the way through the ranks and no quota system. Hate to hear it. Malachi Molina from FC Dallas, another one. Malachi Grant from Atlanta United, another one. Ashton Gordon from Atlanta United, another one. Dante Escoffer from Cornwall College. Adrian Mahoney from Toronto FC, another one. And Chi Daniel Gardner from release unattached at the moment. Yeah, love it. I feel like that's a solid squad, and I just want to see the 20 that was selected out of that. And few notable omissions. Denzel Washington McKenzie. Wanted to see him in this squad. I don't know why he didn't make the final cut, or if he made it. I don't know what happened, but I was looking forward to seeing Denzel Washington McKenzie. Yeah. Anything else on this squad, bro, before we transition to the next topic?
As I'm saying, I harp on the fact that both America and Canada have the two best developmental programs in all of CONCACAF right now. We see them producing players that are going to Europe left, right, and center. I don't even need to call names. And Jamaica is benefiting from that. If we can get some of these guys into our system, some of these guys who will transition into the MLS, some of these guys who will transition into college soccer and then move on to Europe or the MLS into our programs from now and get them playing for Jamaica and get them loving Jamaica, I think this is the way to go. And I think the new JFF administration is what has caused the rise in this action. The movement has started because the JFF is attempting to start this movement. And I think if we continue to put in this effort, we can have a very good squad. And I always say, inviting international based players into the squad, it will never be a fully international based team. It will never be, because Jamaica produces some of the best talent in the whole entire world, and that's unequivocal. And I always say, had some of our Jamaican players, had Gooden been born with an American passport or an English passport, he would have been in the academy system without a doubt. You see that for the likes of Jamani Bell and the likes of Dylan John. Had these players played internationally, like had they, for example, been born in America or been blessed with the privilege to have an American passport, they would have been in academy systems just like some of these players. So allowing the academy players will not completely take the spots of our players. So I genuinely mean that we have players that are good enough to play in the US and European academy system. But it will definitely improve the depth of the pool, and I'm happy to see that we're tapping into our diaspora, because we're all Jamaicans at the end of the day.
Yeah, the way I see it is they develop the players for us. Why not take advantage of that? But yeah, people again see that Jamaica, the under 17 Reggae boys have a really good shot of making it to the World Cup. What a good thing will that be? People, stay tuned to Studio Talk. This is another episode. Don't forget to like the video, leave a comment on the video, and subscribe to this side at Sports TV. Do one more thing for us, do.
Share the video to at least 10 people, but ensure to get us 6 subscribers. Because if each and every one of you guys can manage to do that, do you know how many subscribers that get us by the end of the day?
There we go. People, segment 2 on Studio Talk. We'll come back.